Listen to this podcast now
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Why is the middle class shrinking? Why are people facing an affordability crisis while marginalized individuals called informals grow in numbers? Join me as I travel the world, speaking with people living in invisibility, the leaders working to solve it, and uncovering the hard truths shaping our economy and daily reality.
Download all of Red Apple Media's podcasts right now through your favorite podcast platform. Welcome to the 5 o'clock show. It's time for Common Sense. Now, it's Katz and Cosby with John Catsimatidis and Rita Cosby, standing for truth, justice, and the American way, bringing common sense to the world. Now, here's John Catsimatidis and Rita Cosby.
Right through the very heart of it, New York, New York. I want to wake up in a city that doesn't sleep.
Well, New York is the greatest city in the world. Ask President Trump. He is back. And he's here to see the Knicks win the third game tonight. Just to, I hope they better win that third game tonight.
They got to win. And, John, if they do, first of all, they won the first two. The second one was a nail-biter. This is the pivotal game 3. It's the first one at MSG of this, of course, playoff.
Now, the question is, if they win tonight, is the next one in New York?
Yeah, next one's New York on Wednesday.
Well, is President Trump going to come back on Wednesday?
He hinted he might.
You never know.
He might.
If he wins tonight, but I bet you the owners of the Knicks, the owners of the Spurs wanted to go 7 games. You know how much money they take in 7 games?
Yeah, that's true.
You can't count that high.
Although, I think if I'm the Knicks, I think I would rather have, I'd rather do like a 4-0 sweep. And then I would really say, just like the song says, I'm king of the hill. You know,
you're really king of the hill.
Then you have bragging rights, John, too. Then you have big bragging rights. By the way, speaking of New York, in addition to Trump coming, by the way, there's going to be lots of security tonight. There are these watch parties all over New York.
Yeah. Says he's sending more ICE agents in New York than Carter has liver pills. Is that the old expression?
Yeah. That is the old expression.
There are only 3 people left who remember that, and here we are in the studio.
Yes, all 3 of us.
But Tom Homan is sending, he said, more ICE agents, John, than you have ever seen in New York, he said, are going to be coming.
And the reason is?
Well, part of the reason is, just in the last few hours, Mondani came out, the mayor, and said, abolish ICE, they're inhumane, they've been doing this, that, and the other. And we know that, of course, New York Governor Kathy Hochul, of course, pushed the New York State sanctuary law. So he said, you know what? Too bad. Remember, he even said it to us last week. You know what? Forget about that. We are coming.
Good for Tom Homan. Good for the supremacy of the federal law over local nonsense. Whether it's Hochul and the state legislature, whether it's city council, whether it's this mayor, the fact of the matter is federal immigration law reigns supreme in this country, and it's good for Homan and the administration to back it up.
Well, let's see. Let's start one by one. Let's go to New Jersey first. What the heck is going on with Newark, New Jersey? Don't forget, I went through it, and I brought it to a lot of people's attention, including people in Washington, that the fact is, of all the game being played, that all the picketers in New Jersey, only of all the arrests being made, only 1 was from New Jersey. So this is an orchestra being played. I want all Americans to realize this. This is a play being put on by the powers that be in the Democratic Party or the Socialist Party or the foreign agents party or whatever it is.
Right.
It's all political theater.
A political theater. And they create the theater, and maybe it costs them $50,000 to $100,000, maybe $200,000 to put on the theater. And the American networks spend $1 zillion advertising the fact, and the American people are walking around all over the country saying, oh, this is what's going on in our country.
Right, and it's free advertising.
Free advertising.
Right.
No, they paid.
Well, they're paying, right?
They're $100,000 or $200,000.
Right. But my point is, they're getting millions of dollars. Right, exactly. They're getting millions of dollars.
Let's go to New Jersey. Who's on today?
We have a Congressman Jeff Van Drew, who is joining us from the Great Garden State. And Congressman, we love having you back. But what the heck is going on there? To John's point, outside the Newark ICE facility, and I saw some images this weekend. They were smashing cars. There is no respect, shouting vile death threats to agents. What's happening now?
It's all Antifa type activity. It's all wrong. It's bad for our country. It's bad for our state. Here's what happened. The governor, for a very brief moment, did the right thing and brought the state troopers in and told the Newark police to cooperate, and the mayor of Newark even cooperated, again, very, very briefly. You remember that. Everything was under control. I was there, by the way, during that period. I went, as you know, into the facility, looked at everything, and we could talk about that a little bit again as well, because I think we need to emphasize just how nice, actually, the facility is. But the bottom line is the governor got threatened that if she didn't change her ways, the Democrats were going to recall her because they want the violence. I'm not saying every single Democrat in New Jersey does, but there are absolutely many of them on the radical left, this Antifa-type group, bringing in people from all over the country to create havoc in New Jersey, havoc in our system of law. And the worst of it is all the lying that's going on. There's nothing terrible going on inside that building. We looked at everything, and I told you about the soccer fields, and I told you about the law library and the regular lending library. And, you know, I told you all about all of it. The food, 3 good hot square meals a day, special meals for those that have dietary issues, whether they be religious or whether they be health. The physician, I spoke with him. This is all a fabrication. It's all political talk, and it's dangerous political talk, and it's a lie. It's the big lie. And the media is going along with it, so people get scared. Good people think, my God, is this America? Are we really doing this? You know, Mr. and Mrs. America, we're not doing that. Everything's being done the right way in there, and there's some bad people in there that we need protection from.
And then you got the Democrats stirring the pot, too. I mean, we had the El Said guy from Michigan, who has been a big anti-ICE, anti-police. He was out there protesting. And then you got in New Jersey, you got the Democrat Adam Holloway. I mean, can you believe that this guy's actually now, he's running for Congress, but it's a blue seat, as you know.
I know, you know, I can't believe it, and it makes me sad. I was born in New York City, but I've lived 99% of my life in New Jersey, and now, of course, a good chunk of my life down in South Jersey. I love New Jersey. New Jersey is a state of hardworking people, good people, beautiful beaches. I won't go through the whole thing, but it really is the potential and has been a great state, and what we are doing to it. But it's bigger than that. Rita and John, this is bigger than you, bigger than me, bigger than any of us. This is about whether we're going to keep America. I'm not kidding. Structurally, we are destroying the fabric and the essence of what the United States of America is. And we're at a real flashpoint in American history now.
Yes.
I pray to God we make it. And by the way, last thing I'll say for here, be unafraid. To all the people who are listening, to all the elected officials that sometimes get a little nervous, well, we don't want to say anything about it. Be unafraid. Tell the truth.
Jeff, Congressman, let's get the truth on what's going on in Newark right now. Has the governor send in the Newark police to take care of things?
Well, they're there, but they, you know, have actually reduced the number of them that are there. The answer is no. No, not really, because they have them there, but they've reduced the number. They will not cooperate with ICE. Here's the issue. Somebody's bound to get hurt if you don't have local, county, or state police working with the federal police, because the federal, their job is not crowd control. It's not to control all those issues out there. Their job is to control what happens inside the facility, just like the Department of Corrections. Department of Corrections in the state of New Jersey or in any state, it's not crowd control what they do. They control the facility to make sure it's safe and nobody escapes. That's their job. So by not cooperating, they make these dangerous situations. Notice that the fatalities where people have been hurt, where there have been problems, where there is violence, are all in the blue states. The red states, where everybody's cooperating, working carefully together, there are no problems, and we're making sure not to have the bad guys out among all of us.
Jeff Van Drew, thank you for keeping us informed. Call whenever you think there's something that we got 1 million people out there listening. Call whenever you think that they should know something.
You got it. Right back at you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jeff. Congressman Jeff Van Drew.
Great.
Keeping us informed, and thank you again. And I understand Bill O'Reilly, is he back from Ireland?
He is back. And Ireland and London and everything. And also, when Irish eyes are smiling, we love that. It gives us a good excuse.
Yes.
With a name like O'Reilly, you can never stop playing that. Here it is.
When Irish eyes are smiling.
And joining us now is our favorite Irishman, Bill O'Reilly. Bill, it's so great to have you here. I want you to know we are still talking about, you blew our minds last week about the 60 Sharia courts that you were talking about over there. You gave us such blockbuster information from over there.
Yeah, it's really a dangerous situation evolving in the UK, and the government continues to look away, which really is at the root of a lot of this migration situation, because you can have a fair system. We all came from different countries, and we got here in a legal manner, most of us, and that still exists. That pathway still exists. But for political reasons, both in the USA and in the UK, the governments have broken it down and don't enforce the laws. All of our social problems come down to one thing, Rita: non-enforcement of the law. They all come down to that, every single one of them. And the progressive movement simply doesn't like the law, feels it's racist, and isn't going to enforce it. And this is what we get.
Well, speaking of what we're getting, let's get to also what's going on in this country. My goodness, Bill, tomorrow night is going to be the primary in Maine. You got this guy, Graham Plattner, and just the details that keep coming out about this guy, not just the Nazi tattoo, but then all these allegations from women recently. While he's still married, you even have Fetterman kind of doing a bid with him, saying, if you weren't with sexting a minor gal, if you can prove it, I'll wear suits, he said, the rest of his term in the Senate. I mean, everybody's talking, and yet right now he looks like he's going to sail through tomorrow in that nomination, at least on the Democratic side.
1.5 million people in Maine. So you figure what? 400,000, 500,000 will show up in a primary. I'm not so sure he didn't have any opposition. That's the problem.
Right.
So in Maine, like a lot of the New England states, and Maine was really the last to fold because they're big gun people up there with the hunting and all that. And they didn't buy into progressive movement until the migration started. And a lot of foreign nationals moved to Maine to do the seafood stuff and the service industry. Those are the two big industries they have there, lumber. And it changed the dynamic, as it changes it everywhere. So I think Susan Collins will be the next senator. She's been there forever. I know her. She's a good person.
Yep.
I don't think Mainers are going to put this guy in. He might win the primary. But boy, oh boy, how low can you go? I mean, this is George Santos Redu, right?
Wait 1 second. Aren't they bringing back George Santos, trying to indict him again?
I think that they're sending him to Devil's Island, but I'm not sure. Although there is a GoFundMe to send George out of here. I mean, oh my God, he's in my district. So.
Oh, that's right.
The guy is such a grifter. It's unbelievable. But this guy in Maine, I think he's worse than Santos because of the racial aspect to what he his presentation.
Yeah, I agree. You know what, Bill? I find this Plattner guy one of the worst of the worst. I mean, what he said about veterans, what he said about African Americans, gays, women who got raped should basically buck up. I mean, to me, I think it's much worse even in my mind. There's just something and the Nazi tattoo.
Listen, I don't know what's going on up in Maine. I like the state. I've been there many times. I can't imagine that most of the people there want this guy representing them. But the progressive movement stands by its own. And that's why he's in this position. There are enough progressives up there and enough money coming in to fund his stuff that he probably will win the primary but lose the general.
Yeah, let's pray let's pray even they wake up tomorrow night. Let's find out. Judge Weinberg.
So good to talk to you, Bill. So it seems to me the problem in large measure is the silence, the deafening silence of the so-called traditional Democrats and allowing this guy to have any kind of legitimacy. Where are they across the country, other than Fetterman, standing up and saying this guy is wrong for America and he's bad for the future of our country?
Well, Judge, that the game is if you go against the progressive movement now, you don't get funded. So the people in the House have to run every 2 years. They need money to run, so they shut up because they want the money, and the progressives control the money. So it started with Nancy Pelosi. You can lay it right on it, Nancy. Nancy's the one that designed this system. You do what we tell you, or you don't get a dime. And that's why you don't hear from so-called moderate Democrats, because they don't want to be cut off from the funding. And we have some of them in New York. In New York, I mean, they're almost as bad as Maine. I mean, you can't say mom and dad anymore, right?
Gestating and non-gestating parents.
I mean, how crazy is that, Bill?
Crazy. That is
crazy.
I mean,
happy gestation day.
Exactly.
So
I got to look it up in the in the dictionary.
They passed a law last week that in state matters, the words mother and father are not to be used. And I'm sitting there how can anyone in New York State vote for this movement? How can you do it? Now, Hochul's not going to sign that. If we examined
every state senator and every state assembly person on a separate basis, you think they would know what the word gestation means?
I don't know what they know up there.
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Yeah,
if you stop the next 100 people that walk by Smith and Walensky's across the street, do you think they'll know what that means?
But this is just another woke piece of garbage, and Hochul's not going to sign it until the election's over. So she's not going to sign it between now and November because she knows traditional New Yorkers are going to go, I've had enough. And I hope everybody has had enough. But then after she gets the governorship, which she may, then she'll sign it. That's what Cuomo did, Andrew Cuomo. I put the stuff in the bottom drawer until it didn't hurt him, and then he signed all this crazy madness stuff.
Congestion pricing.
Taxes.
Yeah. Congestion pricing. Yeah, exactly. Day after the election, she pushed it through.
Yeah. But my thing is, I'm an American, okay? And I can trace my history back to the late 1860s. And I like America. I like the traditions. I believe they made us the strongest country on earth. We freed billions of people. And I don't want this. I don't want this from a political party. And the Democrats are now wedded to this. So pardon the pun. I don't know what you say now with the bride and groom. I don't know what you do there. With the gestation stuff.
That's easy. One is a gestating partner, and the other is a non-gestating partner. That's all.
Yeah, I know.
How about the guys in Canada? Do you remember that woman in Canada, Bill? The one who we played it because it was so ludicrous. She had like 21 initials. Remember, she said we have to be respectful of the LGBTQZY.
Guys,
you
guys are off in the wrong direction. What's even worse is the fact. What's even worse. It's the fact that the Democrats won't allow the Women's Museum to go through or something, or the
Oh,
women's,
yes, that's terrible, right.
unless you include 6 other genders.
Yeah, did you hear that, Bill? Yes.
That's even worse.
That
This
is
for the whole
lunacy.
country.
Yes. Did you hear that, Bill? I'm glad John brought that up. They didn't want it because they said they did not want it to be just biological women. And that's why they voted it down. Because they wanted to include non-biological women.
I want every listener, the millions of listeners we get out there, to realize this, that the leadership of the Democratic Party has lost their minds.
Yeah, totally lost their mind. I mean, Bill, what an offense. As a woman, that's offensive.
Listen, I don't think Chuck Schumer knows what gestation means. Next time I say, hey, Senator.
I'll ask, are you gestating or you're not gestating?
Yeah, are you gestating?
Are you a gestating person or non-gestating person?
Yeah. I mean, so, look.
You got to have a few laughs because people...
It's so ludicrous, John. You got to. It's so ludicrous.
Well, let's go to KT McFarland. Maybe she knows the difference between gestating and non-gestating.
Absolutely. We'll go to her after the
Bill
break.
Bill O'Reilly, we love you. Thank you for coming on this today.
And Bill, I'm glad you had such a great trip. Thank you, Bill.
Thanks for having me, guys.
We love you. And John, we're going to take a break, and we'll ask KT that and a lot more after the break.
A common sense recap of the day's biggest stories. It's John Catsimatidis and Rita Cosby. Katz and Cosby on 77 WABC.
Well, we are back. And what the heck is going on? Well, we have with us KT McFarland, one smart lady, and Rita, bring her in.
I would love to. Deputy National Security Advisor under President Trump, the former one, and one of the great foreign policy experts out there, KT. So let's get to, there's been so much going on with Israel and Iran. I mean, unbelievable. Over the weekend, lots of firing back and forth, and Netanyahu said he will respond if he needs to.
Something even crazier just happened. KT, you know the archdiocese of the Greek archdiocese in New York, and you know the patriarch in Constantinople.
Yes.
President Trump has, I think, made a mistake. He has assigned the Jerusalem patriarch to make peace between Moscow and Ukraine.
Why?
I will text it to you because the archdiocese and the real patriarch in Constantinople is calling me.
Yeah, saying, wait a minute. Right. And now KT, explain. Exactly, but also explain.
Why am I in the middle of that?
But
I work for the archdiocese in my spare time for $1 a year.
So John and KT, both of you guys should explain why there's difference, because the layman hears it and says, oh, that's great. But explain why there's a lot of internal politics here, right, KT?
Yeah, I mean, part of it, I guess, is President Trump has called for this. I guess he's called for it because he wants to look like we're doing something, and he's quite preoccupied not only with Iran, but then he'll turn next to Cuba. But for the life of me, I can't figure out why he's doing this. It just puts one more sense of confusion on it. You know, the patriarch, the Russian patriarch, is supposed to be a religious person. Yeah, I guess he's sort of religious, but he's more or less Putin's guy.
Right.
Yeah, he follows what is it? Otherwise, he falls out of the second floor or third floor.
Yeah.
Whatever it takes. Whatever it takes to finish him off, that's all.
You're right to sainthood. So to have him somehow in the middle of the negotiations is really isn't a real negotiation because he's Putin's guy. I mean, He's made it very clear that the Ukraine war is a just war, that Russia should be doing this, and he's Putin's puppet. So why is he in any negotiation? And why? It's just, to me, it doesn't make a lot of sense. It's sort of a non-starter unless President Trump wants to look like we're doing something, but in fact we haven't gotten around to doing something with Ukraine.
KT, it's Richard Weinberg. John's point is the Jerusalem patriarch is not the real deal. He's just
exactly.
It's not. So you have the following.
I'm not sure that the president knows.
That's what I agree with John.
That's the internal politics of the Greek Orthodox Church.
Yes,
right.
he may have the best of intentions, but not realize.
I agree with that.
Yeah, he just may not realize the internal politics and who this guy really is.
Yeah, he thinks he had a problem before. Dealing with the Greek Orthodox Church is really something.
None of it makes any sense. My guess is that President Trump was not fully informed of who these guys are, and it's like saying, okay, well, the Pope, we're not really sure he's on our side, so we'll give it to these other guys because we know we love the Greeks, and maybe he didn't realize where he is. But anyway, it's going to go
Let's
nowhere.
go back to the real world. Tell us about what's going on, Ukraine, Russia, Iran. I mean, it's such a mess right now.
Oh my God! And KT, I was up late watching like both sides firing salvos. You know, I mean, it was a lot of action last night. First, Iran going after Israel, Israel responding.
Yeah, so I think what's happened is that we now realize, and President Trump has said it, Secretary Rubio has said it, there's a real split, at least two, maybe more than two sides in Iran governing Iran. And so there are the pragmatists, so-called pragmatists, who are just as radical as the others. They're just, in Iran, it's crazy and crazier. So the crazy guys, the pragmatists, they want to do a deal because they realize they have to do a deal. And then there's the really crazy guys, the IRGC. They don't want to do a deal with anybody, no matter what the deal is. So it looks to me like what the IRGC did. And remember, they have something called the Quds Force, which is part of the IRGC, and Hezbollah reports to the Quds Force. So Hezbollah is an IRGC agent. And I think what the IRGC guys wanted to do was, let's sabotage this deal. Looks like they might be getting close to a deal. We want to sabotage this deal. And if we can sabotage this deal, then we know Israel will retaliate, and then we can call off the whole thing.
I agree with you 110%. I think that between the chimpanzees and gorillas, as we call them, that Trump has his hands full.
John's seen one move in the last 10 years, and that's it.
Yeah, KT, you've heard that one before, right?
I know that, John. I don't know how you get away with stuff like that. Anybody else would be taken to
the cleaners,
to the woodshed.
they know I have all good intentions.
Yeah, but it's an interesting analogy. Now, KT, what's fascinating to me in the last couple of days is this whole thing with the Supreme Leader, the son of the Supreme Leader, because President Trump came out kind of over the weekend alluding that he thinks the guy may be alive now. Maybe
also
isn't mobile.
He went beyond that. He says, I think he's smarter than his father.
Yeah,
more rational.
Right, more rational. What do you think?
Well, and also President Trump, in a very odd thing, he said, "Well, if we make a deal, I'm happy to meet with him." So it sounds to me like, again, the crazy and the crazier, that the mullahs, who had always been this third group, so that the pragmatists who were the political leaders, the Speaker of the Parliament, and then there are the military guys, the IRGC, and then there's the religious leaders who are supposed to be above everything. And the religious leaders had always been sided with the IRGC. They were the crazy ones, the zealots. But now it seems like the Ayatollah, the new Ayatollah Jr., is in fact part of the negotiating process. So I think that's why President Trump said nice things about him. The Ayatollah has sort of come out, and his spokesman has come out and said, well, there's some issues that have a lot of ambiguity in the negotiation. So in other words, if somebody's saying there's ambiguity in a negotiation, that means they're negotiating. 2 weeks ago, nobody was negotiating.
Yeah, I understand that, and it's that our IRGC or whatever is the one shooting off the missiles and making the phone calls to the Houthis and making the phone calls to the Hezbollah and creating that whole problem.
They want to sabotage a deal, any deal, even if it's a good deal for them. They don't want a deal. They want nuclear weapons, and they want to, kill every Jew. They want to kill everybody who's not their variety of Islam. And they really honestly think that they have been selected by Allah to do this.
Yes, and Russia, Putin, and Xi from China, well, they don't give a damn. They just said, whatever happens, happens.
Well, remember, China's supposedly the great buddy of Iran. China just likes Iran for cheap oil. And if it can't get cheap oil from Iran, it'll start looking for cheap oil someplace else. So China is all in it for China, doesn't really care about Iran. And Russia is similarly. Russia was a friend of Iran's, mostly because Iran was an adversary of the United States. It's sort of like my friend is the enemy of my enemy. But right now, Russia is in the weakest position of all. Probably the only people in a weaker position than Putin are the European leaders who are squawking, saying that the United States has to do this, the United States has to do that, when in fact they don't have any ability to defend themselves without the United States in helping Ukraine, without the United States in NATO. The Europeans, well, I guess they can just, I don't want to say what they could do, but maybe drink their champagne or something, but they can't defend themselves.
KT, we love you. Thank you for coming on, and keep us informed. Anything comes up, we're one text away.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, KT.
Take care. And Rita, how about the top news of the day, sponsored by our friends at Goya Foods?
Always the best.
It's the top news of the day. Here's Rita Cosby.
And here are some of the headlines, guys. And we're going to be talking about this after the break, too, with the U.S. attorney there in California. The LA's mayor's race is getting a lot of national attention after TV reality star Spencer Pratt appeared to qualify for the runoff, but now it seems he may be out of the running. Mail-in votes are continued to be counted from Tuesday's primary, and it's widely expected by some that the Democratic Socialist Nithya Raman may take on incumbent Democrat Mayor Karen Bass. Again, we're waiting to see what happens. Way still too early. But also, an earthquake center just west of Cuba was felt by the people in Florida. The USGS says the 6.1 quake hit in the southern Gulf today, and they felt it as far north as Central Florida. So we'll keep you posted on that. And everybody stick with us. We're going to talk to the U.S. attorney there in California. You will be stunned how you can become a first-time voter, especially in California. Here's a hint. What about a gym membership? We'll have more after the break.
You're commuting home with Katz and Cosby. Now, here's John Katzimatidis and Rita Cosby on 77 WABC.
Well, John, all eyes on California, especially as we're waiting to see the results in the governor's race, in the LA mayor's race. And our next guest has some blockbuster details about how first-time voters can actually register in California. It's going to blow your mind. And joining us now is the U.S. attorney there in California, Bill Asalee. Bill, it's so great to have you here on the show. Walk us through, because we understand what California is blocking you. You're trying to do an audit. But this is mind-blowing, how people can register first-time voters there in California.
Yeah, no, the voter rolls are so important, because if you have dirty, filthy voter rolls, you're going to have dirty elections. And so this is something I'm really familiar with as a former legislator in California before I was appointed to my current position by the president. So let's start with registering to vote. California pretty much lets anyone register to vote. You can do it online. They sign people up at the DMV. And if you don't have a driver's license or a social, they say, no problem, just show us some form of ID. And there's a list of what they consider acceptable ID, and among that list is gym memberships, prescription drug label, you've got insurance cards, and yes, they give insurance to illegal immigrants in California. You've got all these ridiculous things that do not prove that you're an eligible United States citizen who can vote in an election. So that's step one.
So the problem is you can't get an honest count in California the way it is now.
You don't even know that the people on the voter roll are eligible to vote, because they just let anyone register, basically, and that's not an appropriate form of ID. Then you add on top of that, they don't maintain the voter rolls in California. They do not clean up the voter rolls in a regular manner to get dead people off quickly, people who've moved, people who are felons. These are people who are not eligible to vote. They need to be removed quickly. So they're not maintaining.
So what's going to happen
rolls.
with the election? With the with the governor's election and the mayor's election?
Well, that's a great question. We're doing our job. Our job is to investigate violations of federal law, and we've already brought one case just about a month ago where an individual caught undercover by James O'Keefe was registering homeless people to vote using fake information and paying them to do so. That person has pled guilty. We have other investigations ongoing on election fraud. But what I'm talking to you about is the system. They've basically, in the state of California, they've decriminalized election fraud with the way they register voters. And then you have to understand what else goes with that. Ballot harvesting. So they let anyone register. They don't clean the rolls. Then they've legalized ballot harvesting, which is illegal in most states. It is illegal in most states for another person to handle someone else's ballot. Not true in California. Anybody can go collect ballots from anybody. So you can be walking around with 100 ballots in your trunk and nothing to see here. Totally legal in the state of California. So you have the ballot harvesters out there collecting. No chain of custody, no record keeping. We have no idea who's doing it. They just drop it in the mailboxes. And then we don't have voter ID. So you put all that together, it's a recipe for fraud. So, yes, will we be charging people with fraud? Yes, we will. Is it going to be enough to change the outcome of anything? Probably not. That's why we want to audit the voter rolls. And that's why we've sued the state of California under various federal statutes that say we should have access to that.
Don't we have to get into the Supreme Court ASAP?
We're on our way. We're in the Ninth Circuit right now, so it's at the Court of Appeals. As you know, these things kind of have to work their way up. But right now we have to work within the system that Congress has laid out. So until something changes, we're doing everything we can at the Department of Justice to force the state of California to hand over their voter rolls so we can audit them and make sure only U.S. citizens are voting. But I have to tell you that the way the statutes are written don't make it easy.
Wow. Judge Weinberg.
It's good to talk to you, Mr. U.S. Attorney. I'll tell you, I have a problem with the fact that unsolicited, they mail out millions and millions and millions of absentee ballots. How do you have an integrity system when you're mailing out absentee ballots when they're unrequested?
It's a big problem. These are changes they've made to our election system over the last decade. It didn't all happen at once, but every year they water down the integrity. And what you're saying is extremely important. So if you have dirty voter rolls, and then you add universal vote by mail, meaning anyone who's registered to vote, dead or alive, is going to get a ballot in the mail. You now have millions of ballots floating out in the universe. You have no idea who's receiving the ballot. You have no idea who's completing it. You have no idea who's submitting it. And so by the time the ballots have arrived at the ROV, at the Registrar of Voters, it's almost impossible to go back and trace exactly where this ballot came from and who handled it or whatnot. So we have individual cases that we pursue, but it's a big problem. That's why I said this is a fraudster's paradise.
Which is exactly why former President Carter and former Secretary of State Baker, in their commission, in their report, were explicit in saying that these absentee ballot formulas that are being used, for example, by states like California, are a recipe for disaster and election fraud.
Well, the Congress gives a lot of latitude to states to regulate their elections, but Congress has a role too. And so until somebody reins them in, California's free to do what they want. And they're exactly doing that. They're taking advantage of this, and it works to their advantage. And who's going to stop them? So
let me ask you, Mr. U.S. Attorney, how long could this process take? I commend you for raising the red flag about this and explaining to everybody what's going on. But how long could it take through the legal system?
The legal system is not, it does not move quickly. We've been litigating for the better part of a year. So we've made our way through the district courts, and then we've appealed to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. And we argued that a few weeks ago, and so we're waiting on the court to render an opinion, and it takes a various amount of times for however long they want to do that. So it's not the fastest process, which is why I think there's an effort to change the laws in Congress. You'll have to talk to members of Congress about that. And something positive that's going on in California, I understand, is that there might be a ballot initiative on the ballot in November to put in some voter ID requirements. So there's some things in play. I don't know how quickly any of that will come about.
Well, you got to come back on again soon. It was really great to have you here. Thank you. Such an interesting.
We thank you very much for giving us the legitimate answers out of California.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks
for having me. Take care.
Thank you so much. And let's continue talking about what's going on with voter integrity or lack thereof in the voting process. John Fund with the National Review joins us. John, you wrote a big column in the National Review saying California's election system is a disgrace. You just heard from the U.S. Attorney. What's your reaction?
Well, I'm glad that he is doing what he can at the federal level, but there's also some good news on the horizon. The ballot initiative he references is going to be on the ballot in November. Not only does it require voter ID when people show up in person to vote, but when people mail in a vote, they will have to put in the last few digits of their identification, whether it's social security number or driver's license or something else. And that can be cross-checked against records, so people can't just send in a ballot and pretend they're somebody that they're not. And that would be a tremendous step forward. In addition, it would require county clerks to conduct all available methods to certify that someone is a citizen and voting. So that's good news, because I believe that will pass. Secondly, the U.S. Supreme Court is probably days away from what I think will be a majority opinion that says states do have latitude on how to conduct elections, but sometimes they go too far. And when states like California allow ballots to come in 7 days after the election and be counted, that's gone too far. It takes the issue, the definition of election day, and turns it into election season. So those are two pieces of good news. And let me tell you, the 7-day rule is very important to get rid of that, because as it is right now, and sit down because you won't believe this, if a ballot comes in without a postmark, and the post office does not postmark all first-class mail now, so if the ballot comes in without a postmark, if the voter has just scribbled a date somewhere on the ballot or near the ballot or on the envelope, it is counted.
Wait.
No, that's exactly. John is exactly right.
Wait, so they if it's scribbled somewhere, not officially postmarked,
that's exactly right.
That's still considered.
You put in whatever dates you want, and they deem it legitimate. It's awful. John.
What that means, of course, is if you know how many votes you need to win.
Exactly.
Let's just say there's a race in Los Angeles for some office, let's say mayor, and on election
or
night,
governor, right?
Or whatever. Let's just say a random office. And you know how many votes you're behind, you have 7 days for your friends or the people down on Skid Row to help you.
That's exactly right.
And mail in ballots.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, there's no.
Now it gets even
all
worse.
Our listeners, we got millions of listeners out there. All I could say is, wow.
I mean, that's
well,
a
it gets
shocker.
even worse.
Oh, no.
It gets even worse.
Oh, no.
Let's say you have a ballot that comes in, and the person, doesn't have any hands, is illiterate, is psychotic, whatever it is, they can't sign their signature. They can put a mark, like the old mark you see in movies with pirates who don't know how to read and write.
The X.
You can put an X or something. If you put the mark there, all you need is a witness to sign it underneath your mark, and that ballot will be counted. The witness's signature does not have to be legible, and there's no address, there's no phone number, and the witness does not have to be verified.
So he can use two X's.
Maybe. The point is, this system is purposely designed to fail. And it is purposely designed, as the U.S. Attorney said, it is purposely designed so that it is so confusing and chaotic, you will never be able to tell when the incompetence ends and the fraud begins. It's designed so you'll never be able to know if there's fraud beyond a reasonable doubt or if there isn't.
We're talking obviously about California here. Are there?
Well, there's no state that's worse, but some come close.
That's that you read my mind, John. What else is close to it?
In Minnesota, I understand, if somebody's not registered, there's one person that can come in and speak for 20 others or something like that.
Well, actually, Bob Beckel, who was Walter Mondale's campaign manager.
Oh yeah, sure. I knew Bob.
He is now deceased.
Yep.
I have the Novak rule on sources. If people tell me something off the record, if they're dead, it's all bets are off.
Hey, that's a good deal.
That is a good deal.
And so he told me once at a Fox Green Room, he said, did you know that Ronald Reagan actually won all 50 states in 1984 when he ran for re-election? And I said, no, he lost Minnesota. And he said, no, we stole it. And he said, we busted students from other states. They showed up. People vouched for them. And, Mondale only won by 4,000 or 5,000 votes. Reagan won the majority. He was such a gentleman, and Reagan said to his aides, well, only George Washington has won every state. I don't want to go to court to challenge and match George Washington's record. Let it go. But imagine that.
Oh, my God.
And
From Bob.
I swear Bob told that to me, and he's told others. There are other witnesses.
And you know what the problem, John?
Wow.
The problem is, given the election that's going on now with respect to L.A. mayor and the governor of the state of California, even if this gets down the political road for a change, it's not going to change the results of who wins now.
Well, look, every progress begins with a single step. And if we get a Supreme Court decision that throws out the 7-day rule in every state, because other states have a similar rule, and we get voter ID that actually matters with mail-in voting, that will, in the future, looking forward, will be a major, major improvement. And by the way, I think there's going to be developments on this every day, and I'd be happy to come on, a couple times more.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Because this is a complete and total outrage, but it is so blatant. The votes that are coming in these latest batches, or if you look at a dot matrix of where they're coming from the same neighborhoods where Spencer Pratt said that's where the homeless are, and that's where the homeless will do anything for a pack of cigarettes or some drugs or something. So
7 days after the election.
Yeah, not even legible.
These batches come in. These are the batches that are counted now are the ones coming in on Election Day. In other words, they were literally dropped off at drop boxes or at in the mail on Election Day. But we can pinpoint where they were coming from, and they're coming from right downtown, the worst part of the homeless areas.
Wow.
Now, that's not proof, but it's called a clue.
Yeah. By the way, John, we were just hearing from Bill Asaley, the U.S. attorney, about also the ballot harvesting too. It's like you go over to a homeless guy, hey, you want to sign? Oh, yeah. Good. Okay, here.
They go to nursing homes too.
Right, nursing homes too. Right.
And drop boxes.
10 years ago, ballot harvesting was illegal in California. It was changed by the legislature on purpose. And what happens is there's no limit to how many ballots you can collect. And by the way, there are examples of people who go door to door when people have gotten their mail-in ballots. They go door to door and they say, we understand you've gotten the ballot in the mail. We're here to help you fill it out. And they will stand there, watch them fill it out, and then they'll take it away. And if they think that it's from a neighborhood, shall we say, where their candidate isn't going to get a lot of votes, they can throw it away, but the rest they deliver.
What could go wrong there? This is amazing. I feel like we're in beyond third world country in California, the way this. John, you got to come back as soon as you have an update. You got to let us know.
Thank you very, very much.
I'll have another update.
Oh, yeah. Message me, John. We'll get you on.
Thank you.
Take care.
And I'm just getting some breaking news from a friend of ours, a banker from Spain. You want to read it? Just read part of it. And I can't verify it yet.
He is saying that the Spanish socialist government is about to collapse.
In Spain?
Yep, that's what he's saying.
Let's do some breaking news.
Yeah, let's do a little breaking news.
But not verified.
Yeah, breaking but not verified.
Unverified breaking news.
Here we go.
Breaking news, WABC.
It's interesting because a good inside source, is saying that the socialist government is about to collapse. Apparently, also the Spanish socialist ex-prime minister Zapatero, it's saying, has been indicted on corruption charges regarding Venezuela. It's the first time ever, they're saying, in Spain, and that there's ties within the Socialist Party there. Of course, there's a lot of socialists running Spain right now, but that there's part of a gang sort of very much tied to questions with defense funding and a whole bunch of other stuff. So this could blow right open. That's a biggie.
Wow,
that's very interesting.
And we want to talk about an anti-American government. It's a socialist government.
Yes, I'm going to send it to KT.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. Well, let's go to Jake Novak right now. Jake, before we get to the other stuff, your reaction, Europe. This could be interesting if it turns out a big corruption scandal there.
Well, you got to expect that some of these countries that have been doing head-scratching things like crazy stuff with migrants and supporting terrorism.
Yep.
It's not all just stupid people. Some of this is encouraged by corruption at the top. Same thing and they're attempting it here in this country too through Act Blue and other types of funding. our foreign enemies have figured out how to get around our campaign finance laws. I don't see why they won't be able to get around them in Europe, too.
And Spain, by the way, has been the worst. Remember, I'm thinking, Jake, early on, obviously, the prime minister, the current one there, was like, no, we're not going to help U.S. with any flights.
Not our war.
Yeah, not our war. Nothing with the Strait of Hormuz. They blatantly refused to do anything to help the U.S. Meanwhile, they're in Europe. They're right there.
Yeah, and these missiles from Iran can reach France, can reach some of these countries. I mean, they're much more susceptible than we are. And so, to me, it's just obvious. It's not, you can say it's all Trump hatred or hatred of Israel, but at the end of the day, someone's getting paid and someone's being encouraged to betray their own country. So that's as simple as that.
Well, speaking of being paid, Jake, you have some interesting stuff. This is why Massachusetts, you're laughing already. It's so funny. $64 million, right, was for some EV station funding. And what do they get?
Zero charges. Now, remember during the 2024 election, we had that news about billions of dollars going with Pete Buttigieg, and there were only 8 chargers, and the administration tried to say that wasn't true, but it was true. Well, this isn't even anything anyone's disputing. The Massachusetts Department of Transportation, the Massachusetts government admits that they've had $64 million in their pockets since the big infrastructure bill was passed under Joe Biden almost 5 years ago, and they have absolutely zero chargers built. They had $64 million given to them to do that. They did find 3 companies that were willing, contractors that were willing to do it. Only 2 of them have even signed the contract, by the way, even though there was a 3rd company that wanted to do it too. And the thing that's really, really egregious is no one can say why. There's been no comment from some people in the Massachusetts government, but the few people who are commenting say, you know what, we really don't know why we can't build one charger.
I can do the same thing, Jake.
Yeah,
Jake,
the judge has an offer.
I can do the same thing for $32 million.
I'll do it for 16.
Jake, you can do it for 8.
Let's not joke around. You guys are joking around. This is serious stuff.
Well, it's scary.
Okay, let's not joke around.
By the way, big money too, John. $64 million. I mean, and and it makes you just wonder. On how many other things, the wind projects, there's so many things that fall under this sort of massive boondoggles.
Well, and what's interesting about this is, there are a lot of accusations about the Trump administration. Oh, they're anti-environmental. They're not going to help. And the point about this money, Rita and everybody, is that the Trump administration did not rescind it. In other words, they haven't come in and said, hey, hold off on these projects because we're going to pull your funding like they've done with some other things. This funding has not been interfered with one penny.
And why is that? Why do you think that is, Jake? That's an interesting point.
Well, I think it's one of those things where the Trump administration is trying to focus on organizations that, for example, are abusing DEI rules, or like universities, like educational funding, where those universities have been anti-Semitic or anti-other people. And that's where they want to focus. In other words, if they don't have evidence of somebody using their federal money and also being discriminatory or abusive, they're going to put that a little bit further down their list of priorities.
Or Jake, maybe there's too many of them that it's hard to keep track of it too.
Yeah. But I mean, this is supposed to be Massachusetts, which is so liberal, and they have no interest in delivering for the people. And obviously, this were a private company sitting on tens of millions of dollars for 5 years with nothing to show for it. A lot of people would get fired, but no one's going to get fired over this. And and I agree with John. It's sad. I mean, you could do a lot with $64 million.
Yeah.
I mean, how many people could you feed? How many houses could you clean up? I mean, it's just. And no one, there's absolutely no interest in any issues. I don't have any problem debating someone who wants to help and improve the country and just has a different way to do it than I, and we can disagree about the ways to do it. But there seems to be no interest in improving things on the other side. There really doesn't.
And that's a sad testament for taxpayers, big time. Jake, thank you very much. We love having you on, Jake. Thank you.
Thank you, Jake.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And you guys are going to take a break.
And we're going to have Joe Concha come on.
It's a common sense recap of the big stories. It's Katz and Cosby on 77 WABC.
And we are back here on Katz and Cosby, and there's a lot going on in the media. You got Trump and Meet the Press. You got Scott Pelley. Joe Concha, where do you want to begin?
Let's start with Scott Pelley, shall we? I think that's a good jumping off point.
Yeah, and by the way, we have
because tomorrow is the... Is that where in Maine?
Oh yeah, well tomorrow we got a Graham Plattner in Maine.
Well,
we got a lot there. By the way, we'll see what happens with that, right, John? I mean, that's going to be crazy.
That's the key item.
That is the big item, and we're talking about Scott Pelley,
I'm
right?
hearing Let him talk.
Yeah, go ahead.
No.
Pelley or Plattner? Are you talking Pelley or Plattner?
Well, the Wells on the Plattner just because he's kind of running unopposed. You know, Janet Mills drops out of the race. She's the governor there, like about 2 months ago. So there's not really any suspense. He's gonna win the primary. Then Democrats are basically stuck with him. But yeah, there's no suspense there, I guess is what I'm saying in Maine. But the fact that he will get votes despite being a neo-Nazi, saying blacks don't tip, despite saying that women should act more adult if they want to avoid rape, supports communism, supports no border security, supports abolishing ICE, wants to end DHS, wants Medicare for all. Yeah, this guy will be the Democratic nominee. The question is then, does Susan Collins beat him? And I say absolutely at this point.
And now you want to talk also about Scott Pelley, too, right? Yes. That's the other P. And by the way, we have a little clip. Because let's put it in context. He got fired from 60 Minutes because he was screaming, I guess, at his boss or embarrassing his boss. Which doesn't go well anywhere. And then he was on New York Times doing an interview over the weekend, and here it is.
When I saw Nick Bilton's email and then saw him reading to my broken-hearted people off his phone, I felt that somebody had to stand up for the broadcast, not just the broadcast, but the people. There are people in that room who go to war zones when they are pregnant. Newsrooms are sort of like the military or the police or the beautiful people at the FDNY down the street. It is a life-threatening job in many instances.
Wow, we could hear your play-by-play. What do you think, Joe?
Send some Kleenex over, please.
Yeah, I think we need to send some, right?
I don't know if I can finish the segment. I got to get myself together. Okay. Right,
that's a doozy.
Yeah, that is a doozy. He also said in the same interview that he has gone to war for this country. He has been in combat zones in Iraq, in Afghanistan, in places where his life was in danger and he was shot at. And he cried several times throughout this interview, as if you would think that he was in the first 13 minutes of Saving Private Ryan, like he's storming the beaches at Normandy. Dude, you got paid 7 figures to be a journalist and a war correspondent. I'm pretty sure that you were just fine over there. And by the way, when you yell at he didn't just yell at his boss in a private meeting. He yelled at his boss in front of the entire staff and then said he was not qualified to be there. And now he's shocked that he got fired. I thought it was suicide by cop where he wanted to get fired. I think he genuinely thought that he had all the power and could speak to his boss that way. I'm going to do that to Katz during the next company-wide meeting.
Good luck.
Sure
Good luck.
Don't forget, I carry a Rocky Calavito bat.
I give you nothing personal, Joe. I give you 5 seconds.
It was good to know you, Joe. Good to know you.
Exactly. I might as well go outside of Sparks, that night and have a dinner. I won't survive. It would do not go well.
Doc, now before we let you go, Trump walks off on Meet the Press. Trump was like, I've had enough.
He had enough. He went on for an hour. It's pouring rain. They picked this place with a metal roof so he can't hear Kristen Welker and vice versa. So he says, all right, we're going to wrap this up because she kept challenging him because he was challenging the fact that he says that in California, everything doesn't seem to be on the up and up. And it's not. The third place finisher to Spencer Pratt, right? This woman, Nithya Raman, right? 9 points back at Pratt, is now going to be in second place and will go on to the general. She's getting all the votes. Why is the third place person getting all the mail-in votes? Because she needs them. Trump has every right to question this. That is rancid what's happening out there. And we won't know till July 4th until we have all the votes tallied. India counts votes in one day, 640 million votes. You know by breakfast what the results are. California can't do it in 5 weeks. Oh, yeah, we can't question that, right?
Oh, by the way, I don't know if you heard, we had John Fund who was talking. You can just put a little X there. You don't even need a signature. I mean, that gives you a lot of comfort.
But you need somebody to verify it, and they can sign 2 X's.
Show a gym card. That's ID. I'm not joking. A gym card counts.
Yeah, we had Bill Asali on, the U.S. Attorney earlier, who was filling. It is shocking, Joe. Absolutely shocking. Well, Joe, we love you. It's always great to have you on.
And stop crying, please.
Yeah, please stop crying. We grown men don't cry.
You're right. I'm sorry.
You got to pull yourself together, baby. You got to pull yourself together. Yeah, here we go. You ready? You ready, Joe? Here you go. This will make you happy.
Truth, justice, and the American way.
Hey! Go next. Go next. Right, John? Let's see.
One summer moment can change a child's life. Through Toys for Tots Give and Go initiative, your support provides books, games, toys, and outdoor adventures that spark curiosity, creativity, and a love of nature. Whether it's fishing, learning a new sport, reading under a tree, or playing with friends, these moments build confidence and lifelong memories. For too many children, those moments never come. You can help change that this summer. Visit toysfortots.org. Toys for Tots, delivering hope beyond the holidays.